Welcome to September 29, 2015, Calaveras County Board of Supervisors special meeting. At this time I'll call to order. Can you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any board announcements? Anybody like to make an announcement? No? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So the consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon. Oh, sorry, public comment. Okay. Sorry, public comment. Any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the consent agenda. If public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued at the conclusion of the regular agenda in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of comments to be heard. Okay. Public comments, please.
I'm Clyde from Valley Springs. I had an appeal and stuff that was turned on last Tuesday, I believe it was. And I'm gonna go slow at this because I'm sort of like don't understand what's going on. I feel like Alice in Wonderland, I fell down the rabbit hole. So from my understanding that you guys can turn down, you can alter a contract with a simple majority vote. So you have like three keys will enter that, and on the way happens is two, so I can understand that. But to change that contract, you also have to have the other party you made the contract with. And the problem that I see here is at one time it's very simple. And the reason they use it and let the person record the map, because once that map is recorded, then he can go and print new keys. So now he has 48 keys and not one. So you're dealing with 48 keys and not one key. Now my understanding is some of those keys had been sold before you guys made the decision that you made. Those people that bought those properties are on the original contract. They get a bridge, a turn lane, and a new road. Now, if you guys wish to conspire with somebody and commit fraud against those people, I would advise you to talk to a counselor. A counselor when you went to law school, did they ever instruct you like if anybody goes to jail, make sure it's your clients and not you? Because they used to teach that. It was the first thing they would tell a beginning law student. So what the problem is now, you have these deeds, and one of them is to the United States government. And I know you can't commit fraud with the United States government. So you just used a limit. I don't know really how to explain it, but plus on the MAP Act, there's a good question you asked there, Steve, when you asked, is there a dead-end line on this bond? Well, yeah, you can't post a bond or a letter from a credit from the bank without a deadline. That's in the MAP Act. And the MAP Act is only 100 and some pages. I advise everybody to read it because it has the guidelines of what you've done. So and there's actually, the counselor to take this is the Yazoo, Y-A-Z-O-O, is the first case and stuff. And what it was corrupt board. And they did something with the developer and stuff, and everyone went to jail, and so they had to get a new board. Well, the new board couldn't change what the previous board did because we have a constitution in this country, and it bars the government from interfering into a contract. So those 5 or 6 people, however many it is that's sold, they have a binding contract that you folks cannot alter at all. Thank you.
Joe Kelly from the unrepresented area of District 1 in that subdivision, or that area of, the state. The DRE has a legal mandate via the subdivided lands law. By the way, the application for subdivision is like 132 pages, and I think the Subdivision Map Act is about the same. The purpose of the law is to protect the consumer from misrepresentations, deceit, and fraud in the public sale or lease of subdivisions. The means by which this is accomplished is the subdivision public report process. Subdivisions which fall under DRE jurisdiction may not be offered for sale or lease until a conditional or final public report is obtained. That would be the white paper. Public reports are issued only if the proposed subdivision meets the requirements specified in the subdivided lands law. These requirements, known as affirmative standards, are further defined by regulations of the Real Estate Commissioner Subdivision Map Act and the Business Professions Code. The public report has a second function besides ensuring compliance with affirmative standards. The public report discloses significant consumer information about the particular subdivision for which it is issued. All prospective purchasers must be given a copy of the public report and must be given a chance to read it before any binding contract is sold. I believe there's 5 binding sold contracts right now. The disclosure function of the public report is no less important than the affirmative standard function because it can alert consumers to any negative aspects of a particular offering. There is flexibility as to what can be disclosed, whereas the affirmative standards are statutory. Affirmative standards deal with 2 major aspects of the proposed subdivision offering: suitability for intended use and fair dealing. Suitability for intended use. The subdivided lands law specifies that a public report will be denied if the offering is unsuitable in any respect for the use proposed by the subdivider. The suitability test is, of course, paramount in residential offerings. The applicant must at least show that there is vehicular access, available water and for domestic use, and sewage disposal. If suitability cannot be demonstrated, the offering will be treated as raw land, which will prohibit the owner from making claims to any particular use. Fair dealing regarding the sale and lease of the offering, the second major area of protection under affirmative standards, is assuring that the consumer will get what is bargained for. That is, the deposit money will be secure. The off-site improvements described by the subdivider, roads, sewers, etc., will be completed, and upon consummation of the transaction, clear title will be conveyed, plus other important aspects of the sale or lease will be assured. Final public report. All subdivisions under DRE jurisdiction must have a final public report before sales or leases of interest therein may be completed. A final public report is valid for 5 years from the date of issue unless otherwise indicated on page 1 of the report. Amended public report. If during the term of a final public report the subdivision offerings change, the subdivider must cause DRE to be notified in writing of the changes. If the changes results in the public report information being outdated, an amendment to the public report must be obtained. An amended public report reflecting the changes in the offering will be issued routinely so long as all affirmative standards are still met. The amended report is issued for the balance of the time remaining for the final public report, except in unusual instances. Off-site improvements. Evidence for adequate financial arrangements for completion of all off-site improvements must be demonstrated if they are be part of the offering. Copies of the improvement agreements and bonds, instruments of credit, or evidence of cash deposit are required when off-site improvements will be secured by bonds, instruments of credit, or cash deposits. If the city or county had a current master geographic letter on file with DRE at the time the subdivision map was conditionally approved, which specifically covered each improvement, submittal of the improvement agreement and security device are not required. Pardon me?
30 seconds.
Okay. So, homes have been sold under the guise of the issued public report. It is a legal binding contract. And I understand that this isn't coming back to the board, that the last hearing was it. So I think maybe you need to have a consideration and bring it back to the board. And I don't believe you can correct your error, though. You've already made it. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine, non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion. Anybody of the public wish to remove or pull an item on the consent agenda? Any member?
Item 1, please.
Item 1, okay. Anybody else? Okay, so can I have a motion, please, on the remainder of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. So I have a motion by Supervisor Ponte, a second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, Mr. Kelly.
Joe Kelly of the Unrepresented Area District 1. With all the reading I had to do on the last issue, I didn't have time to go over this one. So I'm wondering about the local health state of emergency by Environmental Health Director and County Health Officer. Just what does that include? Is that going to go for all the cleanup issues and everything else, or is that a totally separate issue? And how's it going to work?
Brian Moss, Assistant County Administrative Officer. Actually, what this does is allows the county to continue to help get assistance from the Cal OES, and they have been here in droves, meeting with them, as a matter of fact, on a daily basis. Something that the board may see in the future is we may add some additional language to this regarding the ash and debris removal. Just take a quick opportunity to inform the board, if you're not aware already, that Department of Toxics will be here tomorrow, and they'll be starting to do ash removal, not ash removal, hazardous waste and hazardous material mitigation. Following that will be Cal Recycle next week, and they'll actually be doing the ash removal. They hope to have this done, as we know, before the end of the calendar year. But with that said, this document allows us to continue to work under that emergency, it allows us to continue to get the assistance that we so desperately need.
Question, Mr. Moss. The actual cleanup activity going on right now, is that being funded by funds from OES, state, and FEMA? Is there any reimbursement for that?
The actual cleanup effort, as learned by the Angora fire, is being funded through the state. It's something that if you have insurance, some insurance may cover part of the cleanup. If it's not insured, then the cleanup was still going to happen. What will happen is that the properties will not only be removed of hazardous materials, hazardous waste, cleaned up, but they'll also be certified by the state as clean. So, yes, that is being funded by the state.
So the actual cleanup expenses is funded by the state?
That is correct.
Not the certification, that's
No.
an addition.
No, they're doing that as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dean Kaleda. I'm the local health officer, and the environmental health director and myself have recommended that there be a local health emergency. Like politics, disasters are local. And we haven't had a disaster like this in the 15, 16 years that I've been local health officer here. Each of the sites that's been burned, homes that have been lost, structures that have been damaged, there are toxic materials there. There's heavy metals, there's asbestos, there's plastics, there's a whole host of toxic environmental cleanup that needs to take place. And the continuance of a local health emergency allows funding to help with that, mitigate those costs. It allows our community to have experts in environmental health, registered environmental health specialists, to come to our community and assist through what's called mutual aid. And all of those costs and those resources are going to be reimbursed to the community through the continuation of a local health emergency. And every 14 days, it's the board's responsibility to continue a local health emergency. And so if the conditions are still persistent, then a local health emergency in our estimation is necessary, we'll continue to come back to the board and make you aware of this so that you can continue to extend that as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, any other public comments? Board comments?
Can I make the motion to approve?
A second.
Motion by Supervisor Carney to approve, second by Supervisor Olivera. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 0. All right. Well, that was fast.
We can adjourn the special meeting.
Yeah, so we're gonna adjourn the special meeting. And at 5 o'clock, we're gonna go into a closed session, so. Guess we got a little time to mingle.